Hi guys, it's Mina. So today in this video I'm going to do my top 10 weirdest, my top 10 weirdest movies I've ever seen. These are movies that I personally find really weird for certain reasons and, or creepy or strange. But some of them most of them I do really like, to be honest. I only have one couple that I thought were just completely strange. And one of these is mentioned in my top 10 stupidest movies I've ever seen video, and if you're interested in that, I will link it down below. Oh, and I do have some movie reviews up for some of these, and I will link those down below, and I'll say which ones. I'm going to get started. So number one on my list would have to be Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The reason I find Who Framed Roger Rabbit weird is because you got all these cartoon characters in live action, and they do like cartoon stuff out in public in the real world, which is really funny. Like for instance, they stretch when other people can't, and I know it's only a cartoon character and they're supposed to be goofy and silly, but I find that weird. And also you got a cartoon character drinking alcohol, which is pretty weird. And it's also funny, and he has like some weird reactions to alcohol, and he does like the strangest stuff, like he will his eyes will pop out, which is pretty funny when he freaks out. And it's just a cool movie. And another thing I find weird about it is just like the jokes too. Oh yeah, by the way, I do have 2 reviews up for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and if you're interested in them, they will be linked in the description box down below. Number 2 on my list would have to be Rockadoodle. Now, Rockadoodle is probably like one of the weirdest films I've ever seen. And this is a Don Bluth film, mind you, and I do love Don Bluth movies, but this one's just the weirdest one I've ever seen out of all the Don Bluth movies. I find this one weird just because you got a rooster impersonating Elvis. And he tries to help bring the sun back or something. It's pretty weird yet really interesting. I did find it kind of cute because of all the little animal characters, but out of all the Don Bluth films, think this one's probably the weirdest one. And by the way, I do have a review up for Rockadoodle, and if you're interested in that, I will link it down below. Number 3 on my list would have to be Corpse Bride. Now, I love Corpse Bride. It's one of my favorite films of all time by Tim Burton. I love the story. I love the film. I love the work he did. I forgot what kind of animation that is. If you guys know what that is, please let me know in the comments down below. I love where the time period it takes place. It takes place in an old English village. I love all the characters. I love the songs in the movie. They are pretty foot-tapping catchy. And again, I have a review for Corpse Bride, and I will link that down below. I don't know if I said that before, but I'm just saying it again. Number 4 on my list would have to be Legend. Now, Legend is a pretty weird one because you got like a weird-looking devil guy coming after a unicorn and a princess, and you got like Tom Cruise with long hair, and he kind of looks like a teenager in that movie. And you got a weird guy that has blue skin and horns and curly hair. Now, I know it's a fantasy, and fantasies are supposed to be kind of weird, but that is a pretty interesting yet weird fantasy film I've seen just because of all that. Number 5 on my list would have to be The Labyrinth. Now, The Labyrinth is one weird one because you got a girl trying to save her half-brother from like a weird weird Billy Idol villain that's just creepy, and she has to work with all these like weird, strange characters in a fantasy land to go through the labyrinth to save her little brother. Yeah, it's a weird one. I've seen it years ago. Number 6 on my list would have to be Body Double. Now, Body Double is like a weird, I think, 80s. I think it takes place in the 80s version of Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. I don't know, but except I think it's a little bit more, it's a bit stranger than Rear Window. It's like an 80s version of Rear Window to me. And because you got a guy peeking out of an apartment at a woman at a like a really big open window and spying on his neighbor, and the window is different from than in the original Rear Window, if you guys have seen Rear Window. Oh, and you got like the different stuff that they use like in the 80s instead of back in the whatever year Rear Window was made. So that's one reason why it's weird. Number 7 on my list would have to be The Neverending Story. Now, I love The Neverending Story. It's one of my favorite films, but this one is pretty weird because you got a giant snail and you got like a weird guy in a top hat and then like a weird lion thing that you have to ride. But I do love I love The Neverending Story. It's one of my favorite Warner Bros. Films of all time. But I just find it a little bit weird because you got like a lot of these weird creatures. You got like a unicorn, or you got like a horse sinking in the mud, and I thought it was a unicorn for some weird reason. Oh no, I got that mixed up with Legend. Anyway, you got the horse sinking in the mud or quicksand or whatever it is, and you also got like a bunch of other weird stuff, like a weird looking rock monster. I haven't seen this movie in so long, but I remember it by heart. And you also got a young empress. And now, I love The Neverending Story, but some of the stuff about it is pretty weird. Number 8 on my list would have to be Shakes the Clown. Now, Shakes the Clown is a really stupid yet weird movie. It's probably the stupidest movie I've ever seen. It's just, and it's 10 times weirder than any other movie I've seen. It's weird because you got a party clown who drinks and gets himself drunk and stuff. And you got, and swearing and cussing at kids and slacking on his job and stuff. And he kind of develops a weird relationship between his friends and his girlfriend. And by the way, I do have a review up for Shakes the Clown. If you guys are interested in that, I will link it down in the description box below. Number 9 on my list would have to be The Mask. Now, The Mask is probably one of my favorite movies, even though this is a weird one, because you got Jim Carrey doing weird playing a guy who with a mask on his face, and his skin is all green, and he bounces around. His eyes pop out like cartoon characters, and he makes the weirdest cartoon faces, when he howls at pretty women like they do in cartoons and stuff. You know how in older cartoons from the 40s, Droopy, I almost said Snoopy for some weird reason. I meant to say Droopy. In Droopy, you have that wolf that howls at the woman in the dress and stuff. It's pretty funny how he does that, and his movie imitates his character that he plays when he's in the mask, imitates all the cartoon characters. It's really weird but funny. Number 10 on my list would have to be The Dark Crystal. Now, this is a Jim Henson film. This is one of my favorites. And one thing I find about it weird is you got all these strange creatures, the weird language, the weird little podling characters. They look like frogs a little bit, but not like Kermit the Frog, but they're a lot smaller. And you got a bunch of weird rabbits that look like daddy long legged spiders. There's that you ride and stuff. That is probably the weirdest film I've ever seen, but it's one of my favorites. And you got these weird, obnoxious, bald-looking birds, and you see their ribs and their skin. It's just creepy. So, by the way, if you guys are interested in my review on The Dark Crystal, I will link that down below. Okay, so those are my top 10 weird movies. I hope you guys liked the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye!